Three people are dead: a mother, a father, a man from Florida City, all gone in a split second. Crushed inside a minivan on a Florida highway after a semi truck made an illegal U turn across oncoming lanes, and they didn't stand a chance. And the trailer blocked the road completely, and the van slammed into it, slid under, and just like that, lives ended, families destroyed. But don't take my word for it. I want to show you guys actually the clip of what took place with this whole incident. So check it out. All right. So now, and if this had been just a tragic mistake, that would be bad enough. But this wasn't just a mistake. This was a slow moving train wreck that started years ago, built by weak policies, failed systems, and spineless politicians, if you want to ask me. And the person behind the wheel of that truck, Harinder Sign, I don't know how to say his name, but we'll get to the news clips in a minute. He's basically an illegal immigrant who crossed into the U.S. through the southern border back in 2018. And he should have never been here in the first place. But not only was he here, he had a commercial driver's license issued by the state of California, a CDL, driving an 18 wheeler through public highways legally on paper. But don't take my word for it. I'll let you guys see what the news had to say in regards to the whole matter and the subject. So I want you guys to check this out.
It's Sunday, August 17th. I'm Nikita Ramos with a look at your news to go. The semi-truck driver involved in a deadly turnpike crash in Fort Pierce has been arrested. Florida Highway Patrol says Harjinder Singh made a U-turn across northbound lanes and then crashed into this minivan, killing 3 people on Tuesday. ICE is also involved in this investigation after noting that Singh entered the U.S. illegally back in 2018. A stabbing in Hobe Sound sent 2 people to the hospital this weekend. The Martin County Sheriff's Office says it happened after a dispute between a man and a woman at the Hobe Sound Mobile Home Village. Both were treated at the hospital, one of them with a non-life-threatening stab wound. Deputies say there is no threat to the community. The Florida Department of Government Efficiency will...
All right. So I want to take it a step further in regards to this situation. As you guys heard that he was here illegally, and then she went on to talking about other news um, issues or other news in regards of the whole situation within her newscast. But now when you look at this, right, and this is a statewide news release, and it reads, St. Lucie County on August 12, 2025, state troopers responded to a crash on Florida's Turnpike occurring in St. Lucie County. The crash involved a minivan and a commercial semi-truck and trailer. Based upon our initial but ongoing criminal investigation, it is evident that the driver of the commercial semi-truck recklessly and without regard for the safety of others attempted to execute a U-turn utilizing an unauthorized location. As a result of his actions, the 3 occupants of the minivan are now deceased. State troopers obtained a criminal arrest warrant for the driver for 3 counts of vehicular homicide during the course of the criminal investigation, and with the assistance of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, as we know, state troopers determined that he entered the United States illegally, having crossed the Mexico border in 2018. And the defendant then obtained a commercial driver license in the state of California under the federal authority delegated by ICE to FHP state troopers through the 287G program. State troopers issued an ICE detainer. And as it reads at the bottom, the actions taken by the defendant while operating a commercial tractor trailer are both shocking and criminal, said Executive Director Dave Kerner. 3 people lost their lives, and as a result of his recklessness, and countless friends and family members will experience the pain of their loss forever. And he is in custody on state vehicular homicide charges and immigration violations. He will no longer be able to damage and destroy the lives of Floridians and visitors. At the conclusion of his state charges, he will be deported. The Florida Highway Patrol remains committed to enforcing both state and federal law to ensure that the people that are a danger to others, face justice behind bars. Now, that reads the article in regards of the statewide news release, just to show you guys that this individual is illegal, to back up what I'm saying, because I like to bring receipts. So now, my opinion on this, I'm gonna just say this outright, is this didn't have to happen. Obviously, right? This wasn't just a crash, it was a policy failure. And it should be national news all over. And where's the outrage? Where's the media coverage? Where's the hashtags, the protests, the primetime specials? Nowhere. Because it doesn't fit the script they want you to see. And if the driver had been a conservative who was wearing a MAGA hat in the passenger seat, this would have led to every major news cycle for a week straight. But when the facts point to a illegal immigrant licensed in a sanctuary state, as we know, California and Gavin Newsom love protecting illegals, protected by how can I put this? Protected by bureaucratic incompetence. That's what I was trying to get that word out. The story disappears faster than common sense in a college classroom. So when you break this down, he made a legal U-turn across all northbound lanes of the Florida Turnpike at an emergency only crossover. That's a maneuver only law enforcement or emergency vehicles, as we know, are permitted to use as citizens. And he did it anyway. And then three innocent people paid for his ignorance with their lives. And you know what that's called? Homicide. So that's why he's facing a vernacular homicide charges. But the bigger picture is, how the hell did he get a CDL in the first place? We know it's from Los Angeles, but when you think about it, you have to say, welcome to California, right? Where illegal immigrants aren't just protected, they are empowered. Because since 2015, California's been issuing driver license to people here illegally in the United States under AB 60. And once you have that, the doors open, fake documents, minimal verification, no language requirement, and boom, you're driving a 80,000-pound semi across America. And no one stops to ask, hey, should we maybe not hand the keys to someone who doesn't belong here in the first place? No. So they pat themselves on the back and they call it equity. And here's the part that should make every American furious. And this wasn't even caught until after the crash, after the deaths. ICE had to come in after the fact to confirm that he had entered the U.S. illegally. So he was just out there willy-nilly driving state to state, crossing highways next to you and your family, and nobody knew or cared until people died. This ain't the first time he had been in an emergency lane and caught himself doing a U-turn, just doing what he want to do when he want to do it, driving his 18-wheel truck. But I want you guys to see also the coverage when it comes to the tire treads and everything else that took place within the matter, right? So check this out.
Out here on the side of the Florida Turnpike, we can still see tire marks from where troopers say a semi-truck tried to make a U-turn, causing a crash. During the middle of the afternoon Tuesday, traffic did not look like this, flowing to Fort Pierce. Rather, all northbound lanes were gridlocked because of this crash that killed all three people in a minivan. A woman from Pompano Beach, a man from Miami, and the driver from Florida City.
It's a horrible mistake.
Carlos Portilla has been a licensed truck driver for the past 25 years and is a manager at Centerport Inc. He tells me he believes the driver of the semi is in the wrong.
You're considered a professional driver, and you should know better.
Florida Highway Patrol says the two men in the semi crossed all northbound lanes to get here, an official use only turnaround section near mile marker 171.
Nobody's supposed to use it except the Florida Highway Patrol and other emergency vehicles.
In the process of getting to the U-turn, troopers say the other car could not avoid the truck, resulting in the van slamming into the semi and being wedged underneath.
Van demolished. Look at it. Just look at it. How can you avoid an 18-wheeler truck slanting across the middle of the highway and you can't go around it? You ain't got nowhere to go. So when you look at this, right, and this ignorance, because it's bigger than just the illegal. Obviously, the illegal is in the wrong, the truck driver is in the wrong, but it's bigger than it, is what I'm trying to have a deeper conversation with you guys. So this is what happens when we build a system, and specifically Los Angeles, when it comes to voted in these local individuals. That's why it's important to participate in your local elections, because you have someone like Gavin Newsom who builds a system in Los Angeles or California where breaking the law is rewarded and enforcing it is considered offensive. Now, you got this guy, Gavin Newsom, so caught up in trying to overpower Trump that you don't hear him acknowledging his ignorance or even his mistakes. That tells you right then and there, as a leader, he doesn't care about your safety as an American or as a legal citizen, as a legal immigrant. So let's get one thing straight. This is not about race. This is not about immigrants. This is about law and order. This is about protecting the citizens of this country, and the ones who actually have a right to be here. So imagine this, right? Because I like to break it down from a easy to understand perspective. You hire a babysitter, no ID, no background check, just vibes. Then they leave the gate open and your kid runs into traffic. Who do you blame? Just the sitter or also yourself for hiring someone without checking? That's basically what California did. That's what the trucking company did. That's what the state and federal agencies responsible for verifying licenses did. They failed, and then their failure killed people. And let's talk about the sanctuary states, because we ain't just talking about California. We talking about New York. We talking about Chicago, Illinois. All of them have turned into ideological war zones where laws take a back seat to feelings. And these places are handing out benefits, protection, and legal documents to people who are actively breaking immigration law and then act in shock when the consequences show up in body bags. So they say things like, well, undocumented people deserve to live with dignity. Sure, but not at the expense of American lives if you want to be technical. So not while citizens are being buried because someone who shouldn't have been here driving a semi is treated like he belongs behind the wheel. Because let's be real. You can't build a safe society when you remove the consequences for illegal actions. But don't just take my word for it. I want to show you guys that also I'm not the only one that's actually standing for this. Actually, the Trump administration and ICE is doing their part to make sure that they prioritize American safety. Check it out.
The Trump administration now investigating a deadly Florida crash allegedly caused by an illegal migrant truck driver.
And officials say the suspect couldn't read English or understand road signs, despite getting a commercial driver's license from 2 sanctuary states.
Lucas Thomason is live in Washington with the details. Good morning, Lucas.
Good morning, Lawrence. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has launched a new investigation into this deadly Florida highway crash involving an illegal alien. Preliminary report says if states had followed the rules, the driver would have never been behind the wheel. It also says the driver responsible for that fatal crash that killed 3 people, quote, the driver failed the assessment, providing correct responses to just 2 of 12 verbal questions and only accurately identifying 1 of 4 highway traffic signs. Here's more from Secretary Duffy on X, posting, here's what we know. Washington State improperly issued the driver a full-term commercial driver's license. Asylum seekers or illegal aliens are not allowed to receive this. New Mexico failed to conduct an English language proficiency test when they pulled the driver over for speeding. Had they done this, the driver would not have been on the road. We are also looking into California's issuance of the commercial driver's license. The failures here are despicable, and non-enforcement and radical immigration policies have turned the trucking industry into a lawless frontier, resulting in unqualified foreign drivers improperly acquiring licenses to operate 40-ton vehicles. The president and I moved quickly to require drivers to speak English, our national language, and launch a full-scale audit of how these licenses are doled out. Now, here's more about the driver. Harjinder Singh is accused of killing 3 people in a minivan in Florida after you showed the video after attempting an illegal U-turn through a highway last week in Fort Pierce.
Look at this. This how so engulfed that these sanctuary states are, cities are. You got school teacher, history teacher, Brandon Johnson. You got Gavin Newsom. You got Joe Biden and the Biden administration. So dig this. Dig this. If this man crossed the border in 2018, right? And then in 2020, he got denied by the Trump administration for work authorization. And then 2021, literally the year when Trump left, he received working papers under the Biden administration. So now, how many more lives do we got to be taken, American lives and innocent individuals, for the ignorance of local leaders who are supposed to be public servants for the best interest of American people? Because we should not be having a issue when it comes to having a bipartisan agreement to common sense when it comes to protecting those who are illegally in America. Americans cannot go to other countries like Mexico and not respect their laws and try to go over Mexico illegally and see what happened. And you ain't speaking their language, and you're not respecting their culture and respecting the rules that they got put in place when you get over there. There will be consequences. So I believe that the Biden administration need to be held accountable. I believe that Gavin Newsom need to be held accountable. I believe that all these sanctuary cities need to be held accountable, because how many more lives got to be lost to the simple fact that they need to be held accountable for their ignorance? And that's okay if you disagree with a policy, but however, don't sit there and go against law that's still effective, for the simple fact is that you just want to be having Trump derangement syndrome out of the ignorance of American people who voted you in on the first place. It's ridiculous. This is sad. I don't care what side of the ball game you on. We should at least have a bipartisan understanding, Democrat, Republican, Independent, you name it, about the safety of individuals like American citizens who pay tax paying dollars, let alone legal immigrants who came and did this the right way with the process and filed the papers and all that, to come here to America legally out of respect for America. And these individuals do not care out of respect to even respect this country, because they want to do what they want to do when they want to do it. Every time these sanctuary cities be rebellious just out of spite of Trump, they hurt an American at the cost of it. And they don't even hold themselves accountable for their ignorance. They just keep going and keep going and keep going and pushing this ignorance based on empowerment and feelings. And then you wonder why it's so disconnected they are. And why an average everyday American can't rock with them or understand, or they don't understand why they can't resonate with the everyday American people with something so simple as safety. Vetting effectively legal immigrants, legal people, citizens that are legal, national security, safety. Like, what are we talking about here? Right? So every time you want to tear someone down in the midst of it, and you don't take the speck out your own eye, you just end up operating out of ignorance and your feelings, what you trying to empower the American people and people to rock with y'all based on being rebellious against Trump. You're hurting and killing people in the midst of it and don't even care less. That's how much of a power addiction that these sanctuary cities have. Because you can't build a safe society when you remove the consequences for illegal actions. You can't build a better country by putting your citizens last. You want to be compassionate? Start with the people who pay taxes, raise families, and follow the law. Start with us. Because the real moral failure here isn't enforcement, it's the refusal to enforce anything at all. So now, when you look at the media silence, because that's not just annoying, it's dangerous, because when the media chooses to ignore stories like this, it's not because they're lazy, it's because they're invested in a narrative. They don't want you to know that illegal immigration has a real deadly consequences. They don't want you to question that no human is illegal slogans. They don't want you to see the policy so that's compassionate actually kill people. So they sweep it under the rug, bury the story, pretend it's not a pattern, but you're not crazy for noticing it. You're not racist. You're not hateful. You're awake to the reality of things, being realistic, not being delusional. Because what we're dealing with here isn't just a bad decision by one guy. It's a system of layered failure, from open borders to sanctuary cities to DMV loopholes to media complicity. This is where tragedy engineered by decades of political cowardice. So the question now is, what are we going to do about it? Because it's not enough to rage. It's not enough to repost. It's not enough. It's time for real solutions and doing it the right way. We need national immigration status tied to commercial licensing databases. If you're here illegally, you don't get to drive a truck, period. And then audit every CDL issued in the last 5 years. Cross-check name statuses and training records. You want safety? Start there. Hold companies legally accountable because they're so busy chasing a dollar that also these companies that knew that these individuals was illegal, but they wanted to pay them a cheap salary or a cheap pay at the cost of American lives, knowing that they're doing bad business because this individual is not a legal worker to even be on payroll in the first place. Now you're gonna sit there and then cause individuals that are victims to die on the road because they're doing illegal U-turns that they have no business doing. And then he can't even read English, let alone speak it. So when you look at it, why would you put them on the road as a company if you knowingly hire someone without papers and they cause a fatal accident? That's not a paperwork issue. That's criminal negligence. End sanctuary policies that shield lawbreakers. This isn't about fear. It's about fairness. No city should protect someone from ICE when they committed a felony over a serious traffic offense. If you're here illegally and you break more laws, you should be going immediately. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, we got to have more conversations. This is why I'm having a conversation with you guys and I'm kicking it. And I'm hoping I'm adding some value in you guys' lives and we just having a thought-provoking conversation. But this is start with, talking about this with your kids, your family, your community, and just teaching people how to spot media silence and teach them how to think critically. They don't want you to think for yourselves because then they can Voltron you. They can direct you and steer you any way out of ignorance. You stand for something or you fall for anything. And if we don't raise a generation that respects laws, asks hard questions, and values citizenship, then we hand in the country to the people who could care less about any of it. And we got to vote like our life depends on it. Because if your city, your state, your leadership is making it easier for illegals to get licenses, to vote, to receive benefits, and to dodge accountability, then they are part of the problem. Full stop. Don't reward it. Don't excuse it. Don't fall for it. You want a country where citizens come first, you have to vote like it. You have to speak like it. You have to live like it, even when it's unpopular, especially when it's unpopular. Because the alternatives is more families grieving, more stories being buried. Look at Lake and Riley, the Lake and Riley Act. More laws ignored and more blood on the road. So rest in peace to those who died in this tragedy. This video is for them. This fight is for them because they should still be alive today. And they would be if our leaders did their jobs, but they didn't. So now it's on us. We got to speak up and we got to continue to share the truth. And we got to be bold, be smart, be clear. Because if we don't defend what's right, no one will. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.